Hey guys, it's Brian from High Castle Technology. Thanks for joining me again today. It's been a little bit since my last video, but I'm going to kind of build on that. I've been raving about this Sony ICD UX560, and this thing's pretty awesome. I'm actually using it right now. It's real nice and slim. It's real simple. Batteries in it. You don't need any external batteries. The USB port. Right, I've done a review on that, which I'll link wherever that shows up. But we're gonna talk about this because I asked the question in one of my last videos, is this the Zoom H1 killer? And so I haven't done a video in a while, and it's actually been really great. I've had a lot of work, I've done a lot of shoots, I've been working on a few campaigns this summer and fall. That was a great experience. Definitely learned a lot through that. So I haven't had a lot of time, but in that time I actually bought a Zoom H1N, which is, I guess, just the newer updated version. So we're going to look at that and kind of compare the two. So here's the Zoom H1N. As you can see, it is quite different. It's a lot bigger. The mics on it are huge, and it's got a little cage around them. And so I'm not going to do a full review of this right now. I'll do that in an upcoming video. But what I wanted to kind of talk about is comparing these two audio recorders. And so these two audio recorders, they each have kind of their pros and cons. And so we're just going to kind of break it down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start talking about my use case with them. And then we're going to go into just some straight audio comparisons. But before I do the audio comparisons, I want to talk about kind of the usage with them, because sometimes, especially in the YouTube community here, we get so focused on trying to find the little tiny details between two cameras, the little tiny details between two audio recorders. And of course, we never stop and ask ourselves, can our audience even tell? Can our audience even notice the difference? Here we are, right? We're the guys that are really into it and gals that are really into it. And we can find these little details. But does our audience care? Does our audience even notice it? And odds are they don't. So if you just want to see the audio comparisons, I'll put a link in the description to the timestamp. You can jump ahead to that. But I want you to stay here for this because, again, we get too bogged down in trying to define the details. Oh, which one is the best? Instead of finding which one's the right one to use. And the best one isn't always necessarily the one that produces the best sound at all times. So we're going to focus on finding the right one, not based off of which one just innately sounds better in all situations, but which one is the right recorder to use at the right time. One great example I have between these two, if you want to use a lavalier mic and you want to kind of tuck the recorder in someone's suit jacket, this one, you will see a bulge in their suit jacket. And that is kind of one of the great benefits of the Sony ICD, is that when you put this in someone's pocket, someone's jacket, you're never going to even notice it's there on film. So that's a huge advantage of this guy for using like a lavalier or something like that. So I've been using these on a number of shoots, and I say what I find myself doing is I find I'm using them in different ways. I tend to be using this for a boom mic, to be honest. I'll put it on a boom stand and just kind of out of frame, and it'll rest, and it captures really good out of the mics. The mics on this are definitely better than the Sony. And when I say better, let's maybe dive into that a little more. They're fuller and they're richer. But they do, I think, my experience, they capture a little more reverb in the room. So depending on the room, this still may not even be better than the Sony. So what I'm getting at, spoiler alert, there's not going to be a clear winner between the two. But I do like this kind of as a boom, and sometimes I'll put my boom mic through this, though honestly I love the microphones on this, so I don't always do that. And I tend to be doing with the Sony is this is my lavalier mic audio recorder. I can slide it into a pocket. I mean, look at this. It is so thin. It doesn't show up as a bulge anywhere, and it's a really great recorder for the lavalier mic. I prefer the sound of the lavalier through the Sony than through the Zoom. And so that's kind of how I've been using them. You know, if someone came in and said, hey, grab your camera, grab an audio recorder, we're going to go shoot something, run a gun, quick, grab one. I'm probably going to grab the Zoom. I think the mics on it are a little richer and fuller. And I think it works better as a kind of a run and gun mic than perhaps the Sony. It's really hard to kind of do that, and ultimately I want to tell them, well, let me grab both of them and we'll mic this up right. But ultimately, the Zoom has some really good features. I like right here on the front, right, I can control the gain a lot better. So that was really good sitting back when I had the shotgun mic onto this. I was able to sit back and hold it doing an interview and controlling the gain as necessary, and that was hugely beneficial. But again, what I found myself doing was running a lavalier mic through this and putting it on the person because it's just a slimmer form factor, and I love it for the lavalier mics. And this guy can kind of go and do whatever I want. Sometimes I'll put my boom mic into it. Sometimes I'll just put it on a boom stand and run it as a boom mic itself. The sky's kind of the limit. You know, and then the question becomes, well, which one do I use? And what I really find myself doing a lot of times is I'm using a mix of them, right? So sometimes I'll just use the lavalier mic through the Sony ICD. Other times I'll just use this as a boom, or if I use my boom mic through this, and I'll just use this for my audio in the final production. But more often than not, I blend the two. And in that blend is where you find the volume, the depth, and the richness in the audio. The lavalier kind of helps get the enunciations, the clarity. This brings in a little of the room reverb, depending on how you're using it, a little more depth. And when you blend them together, you can really get a great audio. So, as you can see, my usage, one's not better than the other. They complement each other so well. And I do want to ask myself a question and answer it for you, because a lot of you are on tighter budgets. I was when I was getting going, and I found that the Sony was my first pick, mainly because of the price. And so the question I want to ask myself here is, if I had to buy another one of these, if I wanted to have two of one versus the other, which one would I buy? And the answer to that question is, I would buy a second Sony ICD, and I'm actually quite tempted to right now. I just don't quite need it. But the Sony ICD is really great. I like to just leave it laying around somewhere. It's small and conspicuous. It can hide from the camera quite well. In the end, if I had to buy another one of these, I would buy a Sony ICD. So now I guess we're going to get into what do they sound like. So right now I am using the Sony ICD recorder, and this is the lavalier mic through that. So then this is the Zoom H1N with the lavalier microphone. And then again, real quick, with the analog gain control, I can lower the gain, and then I can boost it yet again. Real simple, awesome control there, but it is a much bigger form factor. So this is the Zoom H1N if I were to hold it in front of me, basically just as if it were a handheld microphone. So this is the Sony ICD UX560 if I were to hold it as if it is a normal handheld microphone. And then so this is the Zoom H1N recording from the distance of the camera. And then this is the Sony ICD recording from the distance of the camera. So as you can see, there is a difference between the two. They have their pros and their cons. So let me know in the comments which one you guys like the best, which one you think sounds the best, which form factor you think you like the best. If you're using one or the other or both, let me know. What do you think of them? What are your opinions on them? Which one would you lean to buy next? And I'll have links in the description to each product listed on Amazon as well, if you guys are interested in buying those. And also, if you like this channel, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll have the Zoom H1N. I'll do a full review of that here shortly, so watch out for that. And I thank you guys for watching. Thank you for your support. Have a good one.